Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MyFootballWriter podcast. Whether you are watching us here on YouTube or you're listening to us on Spotify, we even have a bit of a different layout. So if you do like it, let us know. And if you don't, and either way, even if you do, you haven't got to anyway. I'm sure if it's pleasing on the eye, that's all we need to care about. I'm Freddie Humphrey-Wakefield, and I'm joined by Will Grant, as I was for the live stream we recorded yesterday, and also Henry Miller. Good to have you back with us, Henry. There's no Jack Wright this week, so we won't have that extra bit of nonsense and comedic value, but hopefully we can still provide some decent insight. There will actually still be quick-fire questions at the end, but I'm going to be the one asking them and answering them, so we'll leave that until we cover everything else in what was yet another busy week for Norwich City. But just to begin with, before we properly deep dive into it, Will and Henry, how was your weeks? How have you been? And what's been going on in your lives outside of the footballing side anyway?
Very frantic for me, mate. Obviously, the youth season is now back into full swing now. Both teams are playing there. So it's been a very busy week with writing and obviously this as well. So it's all good and great, mate. It's just so nice to have like football back. So I'm absolutely loving life. And how are you? How are you, Henry? Good as well, mate.
Yeah, same here. Loving the fact that football's back and supporting Norwich. But yeah, this week's been really busy for me. So yeah, just a lot of writing, a lot of scheduling, a lot of editing. So yeah, it's been non-stop really. And then obviously the eventful Canary call yesterday with Bernie. We'll leave it at that. I don't want to say too much on the subject with my position, but yeah. So yeah, this whole week's sort of been eventful to say the least, and I'm just glad that I've got today and tomorrow off. So yeah, looking forward to just relaxing and doing nothing really. So.
Oh, brilliant, mate. No, of course. And also the Norwich City women's season began. 3-2 win against Dulwich Hamlet this time last week on opening day. I would believe that they have a game today, with it being a Sunday. Could you tell, is there any, well, I would assume so, yeah, that they've got a game anyway.
Yeah, so we play Cambridge United at the Nest today. It's a 2:00 kickoff as usual. And it's actually the first time we've played at the Nest since April. So we had 5 pre-season friendlies all away from home. And then obviously Dulwich Hamlet was also away on the opening day. But what a win that was. Their atmosphere was second to none. I think Dulwich Hamlet have come up and they're definitely looking to have a really strong season. But the fact that we overcame that showed real maturity and character from Norwich. And hopefully today, being back in front of our own fans, we can get over the line and get Cambridge out of the way. It's a side that Norwich know well. We played each other 4 times last season. So yeah, we definitely have recent history with Cambridge. And then after today's game, of course, all eyes turn to the Ipswich game on Thursday at Carrow Road, which will be a juicy game, to say the least.
Well, I certainly hope so. And it will hopefully be looking good for Norwich City women in both of those games. Of course, if you didn't know already, last season were agonisingly close to winning the league, but they were pipped by Wimbledon. They almost went the whole season unbeaten, but lost on the final day. So they've got a vengeance to avenge, really, as over this coming season. They've started it off in the perfect way, but we'll have to wait and see as to how they get on today and in the cup game in midweek. And well, Norwich have got to worry. Well, the men's team rather have got a cup game in midweek and then the game against Coventry on Saturday. But just before we dive into that, Henry, would love to know your thoughts about the game yesterday against Sheffield United. Myself and Will did a live stream last night. If you haven't watched that, it is up on the YouTube channel. You can rewatch the whole hour if you really want, or you can rewatch 5 minutes of it. You know, it's completely up to you as to how much you want to listen to myself and Will ramble on a little bit. But Henry, what were your thoughts? What were your takes on it? Of course, you didn't really have a visual about it, and you would have had Chris Gorham's commentary going on for the entire game. But from that, really, what did you gather from it, and what would you say you made of the performance, albeit you couldn't actually see it?
Yeah, from the sounds of it, this might make me sound like actual callers on Canary Call, but from the sounds of it, I feel like we played well, and that's a really good point. I think any point against a side who've recently come down from the Premier League is a good one, to be honest. And you look at the signings they've made. That Sheffield United squad is they have a plethora of individual talent in there who've all had either Championship promotion experience or Premier League experience. You look at their Australian centre back yesterday, who they signed on loan from Leicester. Sutar, yeah, that's the one. Harry Sutar and Kiefer Moore both won promotion to the Premier League last season with Leicester and Ipswich. So to get a point and keep that brilliant home record intact, I think you have to look at it as a good result. And also, I think a lot of our players played well to only concede one goal, and that one goal be through no fault of Norwich's own, really, a sublime strike from our blaster. I think there are definitely a hell of a lot of positives to take from that.
No, there certainly is. And of course, you mentioned there about the quality that Sheffield United possessed. They were without some key players, one of which being their captain, Bosnian centre-half, Anel Ahmedhodzic, but they were still very strong at the back. Countered, well, a lot of Norwich City's counter-attacking. It was looking free-flowing and they looked strong on the counter, but they were still defended well. And of course, that is credit to Sheffield United, despite the fact they conceded over 100 goals last season in the Premier League. It was an actual Premier League record. The certain number has escaped me, but if there's anything you want to do in their position the very next season, it's not concede many goals. And they did look strong defensively. Norwich did as well, especially Callum Doyle. Myself and Will last night said he was probably Norwich's best player on the day. Henry, I don't know if you agree with that or if you think anyone else maybe took man of the match for you, or are you going off what you've heard and seen from social media and commentary, and are you thinking that Callum Doyle is already looking a contender for a signing of the season, maybe, albeit it's still very early days?
Yeah, I think maybe a bit of both in terms of what I'm judging yesterday's game on, but yeah, from what I've seen already, Callum Doyle looks to be such a coup for Norwich. Obviously, we all know his Championship record at Coventry, reaching the playoff final and then going up last season with Leicester. So he's almost just fitted into this Norwich side like a glove, really. He's been absolutely amazing. So yeah, he definitely deserves his plaudits. But I must say, what a touch that was for Amankwah Forson to get the assist for Sargent's goal. It just comes at him so quickly, and that little touch on to play it perfectly into Sargent just shows what a player Forson is. And he could go, but because of how good Doyle has been, Forson could actually go under the radar in terms of signing of the season. But for me, so far, he's bossed every game in midfield from what I'm led to believe. And his ability to just get the ball and just drive at the defenders and be almost that proper Alex Tettey replacement that we've lacked for so long, I think he's absolutely amazing. So, yeah, hats off to Forson for that assist as well.
Alexander Tettey replacement. Big call. A big call. Well, of course, they are both Ghanaian born. So there's similarities there, albeit he's not wearing the famous number 27 shirt. But evidently, there's a lot of hype around Forson. He is a good player. There's no denying that. He has, as you said, Henry, has bossed the games he has played in. He's always been the player that fans have taken away from the game and said every single time he's played so far that he's been one of the best players on the pitch, and it looks a brilliant bit of business. Only cost Norwich £4 million from Salzburg. So that could be that it's a player who they go on to sell in a few years for a lot of profit, but you can't get overly excited just yet. But just, well, swiftly moving on to that point exactly, Norwich City, there's been a lot of sagas going on, of course, with transfers. Jonathan Rowe has now joined Marseille on loan. That is official, and that has got an obligation to buy for £14 million with bonuses up to £3 million. So £17 million out of Rowe when you look at a player of, well, Jack Clark, who's just gone to Ipswich for £20 million, and the fact that they had quite similar records in terms of goals scored and assists and how many games they played. So it's a very good bit of business from Napa to really get that much money, and even a 25% sell-on clause. So Norwich could be in good money if Rowe does play well for Marseille and they sell him on for a lot of money in the future. Of course, that's a lot of unpredictable factors that we can't predict. That's the joy of football. No one knows what's going to happen with players or teams as time goes on. But that could be, it's a great bit of business, I feel, from Napa to get 17 million out of a player who is arguably injury prone and has only had one full season of first team football. Of course, he took the opportunity by the scruff of the neck and was a brilliant player for Norwich, but it's a fantastic bit of business, isn't it? I think that we've done superbly to get that amount of money for Jonathan Rowe. I feel like that's the perfect valuation almost.
Yeah, I completely agree. The way that Napa has managed to get that much for him after really only having half a season at championship level where he like really shone in the Norwich team is a superb bit of business. But what I will note as well, in terms of the sell-on clause, I believe it's profit driven. So Norwich saw one earlier on in the summer when Ben Godfrey went to Atalanta in the Serie A, because Everton sold him for less than what they bought him for. Norwich's sort of sell-on clause in that deal was invalid, so we didn't actually receive a penny. So I just hope that Rowe goes there from a Norwich perspective and actually does well, so that we can get money for him. But like I'm sure he will. But yeah, also the way he went about it and the apology he put out after he left, I don't really buy. I think he sort of severed that connection he had with the club due to his actions, and I don't think a half-assed statement on Instagram really did anything to sort of repair those wounds, I guess. But yeah, in terms of the actual deal, I think it's amazing, and hopefully we can go and reinvest that into a out-and-out replacement for Jonathan Rowe.
No.
Yeah, I also think it's been quite a key theme throughout the summer, really, hasn't it? Where Ben Napa has seemed to have done so well across transfers and even like managerial stuff as well. So fair play to Ben Napa from that regard. I think the thing with Jonathan Rowe is I'll always be so grateful for his performances against Ipswich away. Like during that time, Norwich were so desperate for anything. I remember the day of the game when I actually woke up for the Ipswich game. I was pleading that and we wouldn't lose. So thankfully we came out of that brilliantly. But yeah, I think what we're seeing now, especially is from European teams and English teams, is they're quite happy to spend about £50 million, £20 million on potential. And I don't know if you could consider if Jonathan Rowe hasn't enough in about 6 months to justify a £50 million price tag. But I think because teams now buy for potential, that is why he's got his move. Look, I think it's great for Norwich, just like it was for Adam Eder as well. And I know also probably like Friday today we're going to touch on Abu Kamara and like how much we would try to sell for him. But if I'm okay to lead the Abu Kamara front, because I think I've seen quite a lot of thoughts over the last few days on Twitter, especially about Kamara and the transfer request saga. I actually have quite a different thought perspective on it, actually. And look, I know it isn't great that like he's handling like a transfer request. I completely get it, and I see the frustration. But if I'm Abu Kamara and I'm seeing that I'm fourth choice behind Christian Fassat, who has done literally nothing in the last few years, apart from scoring a few tappers away at Cardiff, as well as like you've got Gabe Forsyth as well, who is there in the first team on merit. But I think Abu Kamara will feel personally that he should be above Forsyth in the pecking order, because obviously what done last season. Obviously that isn't the case right now for Abu. So if I'm Abu Kamara, I think I would have done the same thing, because I get the fact that like he hasn't played too much games in like football, and he's still so young, and like people might question his attitude. But after such a great season last year, playing for Portsmouth, he played every game for them. He wants to continue that like momentum in his career, and you can just quite clearly tell at Norwich that isn't going to be the case, because he's valued as third choice. So I see why he wants to move. But then again, Norwich value him so highly as well. So right now, from Norwich's perspective, I'm struggling to see the plan for Abu Kamara. I think he's much better in that right wing kind of role. Although actually, I was speaking to my good friend NCFC Analysis as well, and we were kind of talking about the that role of Abu Kamara on that right hand side, and he was actually saying maybe he's actually more suited to kind of like doing like Butcher Sign's role, and that is kind of like retaining the width and then cutting inside instead of just kind of staying like in the pockets all the time. So look, it's very interesting with Abu Kamara's situation. I want to kind of touch on touch on really, guys. How much would you be prepared to lose him for? I remember saying a statement in about a few podcasts ago that I don't know if I would be reluctant to kind of accept anything below £10 million, but that was my viewpoint before this kind of saga all kicked off, really. So I still back that to some extent, but if the cycle didn't play out now, so obviously I don't back it now. But I think Norwich are in quite a bad situation here. So, for example, if a £5 million bid came in, would you accept it?
Yeah, I'd accept that. I think anything up to 5 million is a fair price. I think anything above 5 million, we've pulled some pants down. I think that, of course, he was a very good player last season, but that was in the best team in League One by a country mile. So, of course, you're going to get more chances against a weaker opposition, you could argue. Of course, all credit to him, Kamara. He took that loan. He did exactly what he had to do in that loan spell, properly made a name for himself and built a connection with the Portsmouth fans. And he backed it up by performing really well pretty much every week. He was prolific there. There's no hiding or denying it. But I don't think that one season in League One warrants a lot of money as a transfer. Of course, he's young and English, so that adds a little bit more hype. And he is an England under-20 international, but he's only played a handful of games for the England youth sides, and he's yet to play that many minutes in the Championship. And when he has, he's not exactly impressed, albeit he's had limited minutes, so that's fair enough. You can counter-argue that. But for me, if a bid of 5 million came in, I'd be snapping that up straight away. If it was anything more, I'd be laughing at the team that submitted the bid, because I don't think he's worth more than £5 million. But that's my opinion. Ben Napper and his staff may completely disagree with that. But Henry, what do you think? Is 5 million a fair price tag on Kamara, or do you think Norwich should look to up it a little bit more?
I think 5 million is completely fair. I think, given his age, you could probably get a few add-ons in that deal. But like you said, Freddie, anything north of 5 mil, you're sort of laughing, really, aren't you? Because yeah, don't get me wrong, he's been a great player for Portsmouth. But as you said, this was the best team in League One last season. So it's clear that his heart is still at Fratton Park, I think. So that would make sense if he got the move there, or even to another Championship club if Portsmouth can't afford him or whatever. If he's guaranteed regular games, for me, it makes sense that he goes. Like Will mentioned, he's behind Christian Fasnacht in the pecking order. Don't really know how that's happened, as I don't think Fasnacht offers anything, to be honest with you. But
it's bonkers, Henry. It's absolutely bonkers.
But yeah, I do think the Kamara saga will come to an end eventually with him getting his transfer away. But if he doesn't, I think, sort of like what Will was saying, you can sort of justify why he's done it, I think, because of all of the scenarios and the positions he finds himself in. So if he doesn't get the move and the move doesn't manifest, he has to get a run in the team. He has to. I've been saying all summer, it's a season of transition. It's a season of bedding in those youth players. So come the 1st of September, if Abu Kamara is still a Norwich player, we have to give him time in the squad. And we have to prioritise starting him over players like Christian Fasnacht. But look, it will be difficult. We know we're signing a Jonathan Rowe replacement. So there will be that like another roadblock in his way. Also, Cianacci, he played in that position yesterday as well. So you know, there's 3 players at least who are probably above Abu Kamara in the pecking order. So yeah, for me, it makes sense at this minute in time.
Yeah,
he's got no chance, has
Kamara. Oh, sorry, Will, what was that?
No, mate. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, he's got no chance. Like, Henry has said that perfectly. Like, obviously, Cernach, Kamara. No, yeah, obviously Cernach, Forsyth. Obviously as well, this new signing. He just hasn't got a chance. Has he to break through? And we saw him throughout pre-season as well. Is he's not a striker either. So then again, you think about, is he more of like a left winger? Who knows? I feel so sorry for Abu Kamara. I honestly do, because he's got so much potential. But I'm just shocked he's getting overlooked. I thought it'd be a key role for us this season. And I love Gabe Forsyth. I love him. And I love also the likes of Cernach getting brought. I love all that excitement. But I just thought Abu, it was his year.
No, yeah, it's very fair points. I do feel for Abu Kamara with, well, exactly what the pair of you have just said. It felt as if this was his time to kick on and impress in pre-season, albeit he didn't really impress, but then again, minutes were limited, and there's so many different factors around it, but ultimately he probably wasn't going to play all that much. That if Rowe was to stay and the whole debacle hadn't happened, he would have started anyway, and then even if he got a transfer off, he would have been the main man to start in that position. We have brought in Ante Cianacci. He played at right wing. Do Norwich maybe need another right winger? In my opinion, I'd actually argue no. I think Cianacci he's already played, as I mentioned last night, he's played over 30 games in his career at his old club as a right winger, and maybe that could be his role to play in this team. Or because while we still have Sargent here, whether he leaves in the next week or so, we'll have to wait and see. But as long as Sargent is here and fit, no one else is taking that striker role. So maybe Cianacci is the Rowe replacement. And sorry, Henry, there you go. You've got something to add.
And what I will say as well, a player who we haven't mentioned in this chat about where Kamara fits is Onel Hernandez. So in the Stevenage game, he obviously scored 2 goals. There's been a lot of clamour from Norwich fans to see more of Onel Hernandez and get Onel Hernandez in the team. So say, for example, if both Hernandez and Kamara are on the bench, Torup will probably go with Hernandez, A, because he's more experienced, and B, from when I've seen him, he still probably offers more than Kamara. The only thing Kamara has on his side is youth.
No, that's very fair points, of course. Well, both did very well against Stevenage. Of course, Onel scored twice and got an assist. Kamara got a goal. He also got an assist. So both did have a very good performance. But, of course, considering the fact Hernandez hadn't scored at Carrow Road in nearly 5 years, of course, there's going to be that extra elevated boost from fans about it and that extra excitement to add on. But just while we're still on the topic of Kamara, just to sort of, finish it all up, really, do you think that, I'll pose you 2 questions. Do you think really with this, maybe his transfer request away, was it agent-led, do you feel? Was that something where his agent is in his ear and maybe there was a move that could have emerged that really thought that made Kamara think, right, well, I need to get out of here. I've got these many teams interested in me, willing to put bids in. I'm off. And do you think that, or maybe was it more he felt that himself, and what we've discussed there, if he knows he isn't really going to play and he feels like he should, so he knows really the right thing for him to do is get away, because otherwise he's wasting away a year of development. And as well with that, do you think that because of this and the transfer request being put in, that maybe it shows a bit of discontent amongst the youth ranks at Norwich City? Or is this just a flash in the pan maybe? Because we've seen now in a matter of weeks, 2 players who have come up through the Norwich Youth Academy, pretty much from the outside looking in, throwing the toys out of the pram in a way, and they don't want to be here anymore.
Wow, there's quite a lot to say about that. Right, yeah. So your first point, Freddie, about the agent, kind of talk. I think it's no secret. I mean, we've seen it for the last 2 years, mate. We've seen the likes of, I know, is they to try and promote, obviously, Kamara to, obviously, there's been like bids this winter from, I think, Brentford, Hull, Southampton. Obviously, Portsmouth are always going to be there as well. So I think if you're Abu Kamara's agent, I think he's doing it like the right thing, really, because look, not just starts on Abu Kamara. He wants him to stay, but Abu Kamara doesn't want that. So if you're his agent, you're going to try and drum up as much interest as possible. And I don't blame him for doing that. From a fan's point of view, yes, it is so annoying because he's so talented and you wanted to be here because obviously you don't want to lose good players either, do you? So I definitely think it's kind of two sides to that story. But definitely, I think his agent does want to kind of get him a move, and that's fair enough. I don't blame him. Obviously, I think we just stayed to the cross all there. I mean, he's probably fifth choice on that right wing slot. So, I mean, what else can he do? And in terms of the youth kind of thing about Abu Kamara and Jonathan Rowe in the last 2 weeks, I think that is quite harsh to say overall. I mean, that's probably like no surprise coming from me, but if you look at the way that like the likes of Gabe Forsyth, etc., and Elliot Miles have conducted themselves, like they're so happy to be like in around the setup as well. So for them, it's all about trying to like build a good career. And I think Jonathan Rowe is a very unique character in the sense that he is so confident in his own ability, like more than most, and he'll do whatever it takes to like get to the top. And I think that's probably what has shone through in this circumstance. I don't think Jonathan Rowe is a nasty person, or is he a player that's got like an attitude as such. I just personally think that he's got so much confidence and he wants to like prove himself at the top level. What did at Oxford was absolutely inexcusable. Like you cannot say that was any bit good whatsoever. But I see why he would do it. But look, it's completely unacceptable. But yeah, I think that is quite harsh in terms of the fact that all the academy players have got like ultra egos. I don't buy it whatsoever really. I think they're all humble players. I want to do well for the club and for their careers as well, really. So yeah, look, obviously you've seen like the likes of Gabe Forsyth. I mean, the way that the fans and he was applauded by the Barclay and the Snake Pit last Saturday just shows that connection like between the two fans. Like he wants to play for them as well. So that's absolutely superb. Like for the many people I've spoken to, like players and stuff like that, and obviously parents and stuff like that as well. Like they're always saying like how happy they are for their for their like sons like to be here. So that is incredibly good to hear. And Gabe Forsyth loves Norwich as well. So like that is like all in all, I think there's so many examples of good of Norwich players wanted to be here. So I just think it's like quite a few like anonymous case studies there, and obviously that's my perspective. But obviously I think it's also very important to add to the argument as well that I run a youth page, so maybe I'm a bit biased. So I think Henry's probably like the better person to ask here.
Well, yeah, I sort of agree with you in a way, Will, but I do sort of want to pose something to you. Obviously, this week we've seen Kamara put in a transfer request, Rowe leave, and also Montoya leave. He was released from his contract, from what I understand. If you're a Norwich City player, especially a midfielder in that youth team, and you're knocking on the door for the first team, you've just seen us sign Schwartau from Bromby, an 18-year-old midfielder. If you're of a similar age in our youth team, are you happy with that? Or do you think, well, hold on, that could have been me? Why aren't I being given that opportunity in the Norwich City midfield?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that this new signing that we've signed is quite a versatile player, isn't he? He's more like attacking midfielder, striker. And I look at the current like midfielders in terms of that Norwich actually have right now, like amongst their setup. And there's quite a lot of like midfielders in that setup who are like very, very young like themselves. So you've got the likes of like Miles Bracken and Toby Chilvers. Like they played for the 21s last night. And they're about 17, 18, so they're actually still like trying to like apply their trade at tournament level. So there's still quite a gap there, in my opinion. But I think the person who I actually felt for in this scenario was Kenneth Boa, because if this guy can play as a striker as well, what does that sound out to Kenneth Boa? Does it like automatically for his agents? obviously there was such big speculation like around it all summer, wasn't there as well? Obviously, I know Abo wants to go out and play games. I think he will get a loan move in the next coming days as well. But in the long term, seeing this guy come from Brøndby for £2 million, I think that is quite disheartening. Same with Finley Welsh as well. Like those players in the attack midfield role will feel a bit annoyed about that situation as well. Even Aidan Manning. By the way, I'm shocked that Aidan Manning hasn't got a loan move so far this window. So there you go. Yeah, I think it is quite discouraging. And I think what I'm actually now thinking myself is that I think Farp has selected some players who he likes from the academy. And I think there's some players like in that setup like, who doesn't kind of like value yet, or like he doesn't see like a future for in the long term. And I think across the next week or so, we'll see a few of them go out on loan and hopefully build really good careers. But I definitely give you with that point. When I heard the news about this new player coming in, I thought about Aboa, I thought about Finley Welsh, and even some more deeper players like Aidan Manning. And I thought, yeah, that isn't great, is it, for them? So look, I'm a bit worried about how they're going to really progress at Norwich. And it just feels like that striker pathway is just getting so narrow, and it's so hard for like Aboa to kind of force himself in there. And I just hope for his sake he has a great loan move wherever he goes in the EFL.
No, you see, personally, I disagree with Aperia. I think that bringing in Svartau provides competition, and that's what you need at a football club. You need healthy competition in a lot of positions. It's hard anyway for a youth player to break into a first team, because unless you are significantly better or there is an injury problem, you are probably not going to play. It is ridiculous to even get in an academy, let alone then be a first teamer at that same club, is of course extremely difficult. And of course, bringing in an 18-year-old can cause concern. I can see as to why, but it's a player who has already played almost 50 first team games, and he made his debut at 16. So instantly there is evidence there that he's already very highly rated and he's very talented. And then, of course, that could have been any of our academy players who can just come in and end up being a natural first teamer. But when we already have a lot of midfielders who are always going to play, realistically, before we brought in Forson and we brought in now Svartau, we had McLean and Nunez as two guaranteed starters in midfield. So there was only one spot there for any other player to try and take. And we don't play now with an attacking midfielder or starting in our base formation. We don't really play with an attacking midfielder anymore. So you've then got to have a player who can adapt to the role they've got to be in. And of course, the academy lads will learn that throughout the season. Their style of play is going to be similar to the first team, but you can't just chuck someone in straight away. And of course, although probably it is the best way to do it, I don't think it's the smart way to do it. You can't just chuck someone in because, you've done well for the youth team, lad. Right, you're going to be perfect for me straight away, and we're going to hit it off, and you're going to be brilliant. Of course, they deserve the opportunity because they're youth players, and you want to see players from your own club do well and be brought up internally. But this is football as well. You're going to sign players from overseas, and you're going to sign players who are impressive and they fit your system. That's why you sign players. So it is interesting, but I think it's fair enough maybe that we're bringing in younger players from overseas who will probably get featured straight away. It's why they've been brought here. And of course you can feel for the youth lads, but I don't think that the players who are in there, as you mentioned, Will, I'm losing the words, Torup has already brought in the young players that he wants on his bench, and he's looking to use them. Of course, we mentioned Forsyth, Hills, they're both on the bench pretty much every single week. Elliot Miles is getting sort of shouts here and there on the bench. Maybe we'll see more feature against Palace in midweek. We'll just have to wait and see on that front. But that's my take on it anyway. I think it's providing competition at the football club, and it isn't we're disregarding all these youth players, because if you want to get in there, you have got to prove that you've got to prove to not only the youth coaches, but the first team coach as well, that you are worthy of dislodging a player who's going to start for Norwich almost every single week. And if you want to do that, you have got to be better. You've got to prove you are better. So I think the youth players should take this as an invitation to crack on and think, right, new guy is here. I'm going to prove I'm better than him and we didn't need him. That's my take on it. But anyway, I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on that point. But
yeah, so I completely get what you're saying about sort of bringing in these players to create more competition. But say, for example, you mentioned there, it's not 11 players on the pitch on Saturday, it's the entire squad. And if you're someone like Finley Welsh or Elliot Miles or whoever, and you're on the bench and JHT has turned into someone like Liam Gibbs, you're almost thinking to an extent there, okay, what have I got to do to get myself into this team? Because for both the youth team and even when they have had glimpses in the first team, you could argue that their performance levels are above the likes of Gibbs and Fastnacht.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, no, there is no. That's a very fair point. They probably are better than both Gibbs and Fastnacht. My only really sort of counter argument to it is the fact that Gibbs has played almost about 60 first team games at his young age. Of course, he's been sort of messed around and we don't really know where his best position is. But maybe if it's a player who's already had that sort of run out within the first team, maybe you trust them because they have that experience of playing within tough games and games where it's a different battle. Of course, the substitutes made by the manager are what they personally feel can change a game. Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe Torup didn't want to bring on the younger players because Sheffield United are a big, burly team, very physical team that press very intensely. So maybe he thought that it wasn't the right game for them, but that's his thoughts. And the only way we'll ever find that out is if one of us ever end up in a Norwich press conference or anyone who is privileged enough to get that position, they can ask the questions on our behalf. So again, that would be a very interesting thing to hear from Torup. I do hope someone asks him that very soon. I would really like to get his thoughts on that. But anyway, moving on. Of course, we mentioned there Montoya has now left, and when Norwich have brought in Oscar Svartal. I'd like to get your thought, the pair of you both thoughts on Svartal. I did a video myself about the transfer, a bit more about it and background information, but do you think that maybe it looks as if he's going to be involved in the first team rather than a signing for maybe both academy and the first team? But what do the pair of you think? Could we have a star in the making on our hands? He is Danish. He's played against Torup's Nordsjælland side, so he's a player that himself and his assistant Glenn Riddlesome will know very well. Do you think maybe that could benefit him and he goes on to be an integral part of the team, or is he maybe just brought in to make up some numbers perhaps and be someone who Norwich could use off the bench maybe?
I mean, I'd be very fascinated to see where he's viewed in a pecking order, because I would have liked to have seen when obviously that substitution was made. Obviously, when Forson came off for Gibbs, I'd have been very interested to see whether he would have brought on this new player when Forson came off, because I think that gives you like a good indication whether he is more of a fringe player or is more of like a sub bench player. Look, the lad's obviously got quality, and I think for me, obviously, I don't know too much about him, so I can't like sit here and kind of give you like a full case study of why this guy is going to be like the next Ronaldinho. But what I will say is, I've got huge trust in JHT's and obviously Ben Napper, and the way they want to kind of build a squad and build a playing style. And if they think he's a perfect man to like align into that, then so be it. I'll buy into that, absolutely. Yeah, I think obviously we just had that youth debate there about whether he's going to be a big influence or not, or whether we should maybe have looked at maybe like getting like Elliot Miles or maybe Finley Welsh in that, like give them more game time in that role. I just think whether £2 million, I know it isn't too much nowadays, but I think for Norwich it is, and I think in that role for a player who I think probably going to be like a bench player, but I think they'll probably hope that he kind of explodes into like a first team starter at one stage. Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's quite a big fee for Norwich, especially with nowadays as well. So let's see. I hope it can provide that bit of magic when we need it, because I do feel like at times it's especially during the let's say to the games recently. I think a bit more magic in advanced areas is what we need, because it feels like right now, all the creativity is actually coming from Doyle and Nunes playing really, really good passes actually in between the lines. I mean, couple that with obviously Forson can link play nicely as well, which we saw get yesterday as well. So hopefully he can provide that bit of spark off the bench, because I can't see him starting too many games here and now. So hopefully he can kind of really impact things off the bench.
Yeah, like what Will said there. It seems that he's coming into Norwich tailor-made as a first-team player, which can only be a good thing. But as you touched on, Freddie, we're not really lining up with an attacking midfielder in our starting lineup. So I think for him it will be difficult if we're playing almost a flat 4-3-3, I guess. It will be difficult to dislodge Forson based on his performance. Obviously, Kenny McLean has to be in there. I said over the summer he's one of Norwich's most important players. I stand by that. And Marcelino Nunes has really improved since, probably the second half of last season. He's just gone from strength to strength. So I think it'll be really difficult dislodging Nunes from the team as well. But to have different options off the bench, I think is always a good thing. But I think he's going to struggle potentially to dislodge those three unless there is a change in formation.
No, again, a very fair point. Everyone in the team so far has been performing really well. Maybe we see Forson play more on the right-hand side of attack, maybe, if Norwich don't bring in another winger. Of course, he can also play in that position. Maybe that would allow Svartal to come in, but then we've spent £8.5 million on Sienats, so is he going to be the more starting right winger? And as I sort of touched on earlier, are Norwich going to need another one if he looks to already be the main man at right wing, because he made his first team debut only a day or two after he was officially announced as a Norwich player. So clearly he's one that looks as if he's going to be used quite a lot under Torup, and he's not going to be the second choice man, and he's going to have a bit of a different role on the right hand side of attack. But to just for one last point before we delve into the nonsense a little bit, what do you think in terms of, the transfer window ends in a matter of days now. It's in 6 days' time, the end of the window. Do you think Norwich have got some obvious plugs that they need to fill? Do they need more players in certain positions? And what would you say, really, just to sort of bring that all together, for the pair of you, what's your dream end, really, for Norwich ending this transfer window? Already made 6 summer signings, but do you think more players are needed, more heads come through the door, or do you think Norwich have done enough business? What for you, if you're the one in charge, what is your dream way to sign off the August window?
I think for me, we still need another striker. It looks like Sienats can play there, but they might be using him similar to how Daniel Farker and Dean Smith used Josh Sargent. We all expected him to come in as a second striker, I guess, and there he is starting a right wing in his first game. So I think we probably need another striker, just because Josh Sargent could still get injured. It's a very realistic possibility, and Sienats leading the line by himself. You probably do need someone else there to support him, because he's still a young player, really new to English football. So maybe if we get either an experienced head in the who has played a lot of championship football in as a backup striker, or even just someone who's played a lot of football on the continent, as long as we get someone in who's experienced and can score goals, I think that's a gap we need to fill. And I've said it on the podcast before. A dream of mine would be to keep Brad Hills. I think having one of Duffy and Hanley here is ultimately good. To be honest, I think keeping them both here would probably be a good thing. I just don't think they should play together. But having them two, Cordoba and Brad Hills, I think that's us pretty much covered at centre-back. I think on the flanks, we're looking quite strong as well. With obviously Callum Fisher not only being a backup right back to Jack Stacey, but also playing well anywhere, it seems, as he has done in midfield. So I think our squad's coming together nicely. The only real thing we need now is probably another striker, especially with reports that Kenneboa is off to Notts County on a season-long loan. So yeah, that's the only thing I'll prioritise, and making sure we keep Brad Hills.
I think in an ideal world for me, I think I would have loved to have built around Abu Kamara, and obviously have Kamara and Cernach and Forsyth as those like inverted right midfield options. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. So I think Norwich will probably get one winger in. I think in this before the deadline. But I think for me, what I actually do want as well is, I know there's been so much cry for like a number 6, and yes, I do absolutely agree with that. But I think Thorup is very similar in terms of what he shares in mindset with Wagner in the same way, is that he doesn't want like an orthodox 6 that just sits there. He wants one that can like play on the ball as well. So if Norwich can try and pluck out a player who is really, really good on the ball, but has got a really good physical profile, that'd be great for us, really, because I kind of feel like right now, especially, we've got quite a lot of small, agile midfielders who are all very good technically. But I think when you go to like these grounds like Coventry, Leeds, etc., you need someone just to like kill like the momentum of the game a little bit. And I think right now we don't have one of them whatsoever. So that is what I would try and do between now and then. I think a striker could be useful, but I look back at our similar second choice strikers in terms of obviously Dermich, Van Hooijdonk as well. I just don't know if like not having like a proper number 2 striker actually works, and maybe actually having Ante Cernach as that guy to be our second choice striker, as well as him like playing on the right hand side. Maybe that'd be like a better ploy for us. But definitely, I think Norwich will have to go to the market if Abu Kamara goes 100%. I know I was doing some speculating last time with you, Freddie, about maybe it could be someone from the English league now. I'm not just filled all their like European slots. Who knows? But yeah, I think those 2 roles is definitely what I do want. And actually, what I do want to see as well is I want to see some of our young academy players go out on loan as well, because that is so important. And it feels like, look, we've got about 7 days now to the window closes, or 5 even. So I think obviously the Kenneboa situation has to kind of level itself out. But even for the likes of Jayden Warner, like Jayden Warner, he can't play another year of academy football, because I think if he plays this year, it'll be his 5th season playing 21s football in terms of playing like from I think now since 2019. So that can't happen. He has to go out on loan and get some 50 minutes, because actually right now with Warner and Tomkinson, I feel like what they need now is games. And if it's permanent or loan move, they just have to kind of like get their like accelerated, because they are too good of a players just like sitting on the bench and playing 21s football. Like they have to showcase their qualities in the EFL or elsewhere, because they are 2 very good young players. Obviously, it might not be at Norwich, but just like they have to get some football underneath their belts, because they are some good players as well. Obviously, I think Finley Welsh is a good example as well, and in a man personally as well. So definitely some players there. And the reason why that's got to be done is because the academy want to try and build like younger age profiles in that 21 squad as well. So one way they're going to have to do that is try and like get some offers in, or try and present these loan players out to these clubs, because then you get a very successful setup, in my opinion. So yes, that's quite a lot of things that I want in the last few days. But let's have it, guys. Let's hope we get a good squad in finalised before Friday.
Yeah, no, we'll have to wait and see as to what the individuals who cover that at Norwich City do. We'll have to see what they think is the right things to do, if they want to loan out players or they want to bring in players. We don't know. They've got 6 days left to do it, and let's see what they've got up their sleeves, maybe. But anyway, on to the quick fire hot takes. Even without Jack when he's here, the last time he wasn't here, and it was us 3. We didn't have any quick fire hot takes whatsoever, but he's actually sent me them, so I can bring them to you, and I'll even answer them as well. I'll answer them last, seeing as I'm the one asking them. But got 5 in front of me. And the very first one, who was your anti-man of the match against Sheffield United?
So, like, someone that played bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My anti-man of the match. Oh. I don't think anyone played particularly bad, but I'll go for Crescendo because I thought it looked quite vulnerable first half.
I didn't see the game. Only listened along on Radio Norfolk when I was working. So I'm going to go with the referee because I heard that Crescendo was much improved and apparently the referee was atrocious based on some of the calls that I received on Canary Calls. So yeah, the referee for me.
I'm going to go with Borja Sainz. Thought he was really, really had a poor game. I think on his left foot and some of his passing, very sloppy. So for me, I'll go with Borja. Next question: what was Norwich's most embarrassing result?
Well, I think we actually have covered them, but for me, it's going to be that Chelsea 7-0 game. I was just disgusted watching that on television.
The most embarrassing result I've been to is probably the Luton FA Cup game when we had Harry Kane up front and we're in the Premier League, they're in the non-league. Yeah, I think that's probably the most embarrassing game I've been to for sure.
I'll go with when we lost 5-1 away at Sheffield Wednesday in Farke's first season. That was truly awful. We let, what's his name? Nahuhu? I don't know how to pronounce it. We let some bang average blokes put 3 past us. He scored a hat-trick against us. And we were shocking. The only saving factor of the day was Tim Closer slammed one in from 2 yards. There was nothing good about that day whatsoever, and the result was shocking. And it was even more embarrassing the fact we had lost by that same scoreline at Hillsborough the year before. So you can pick either one if you really want. But next up, this is a corker. I can't lie. I didn't really know how to even answer this myself. I still don't. Prime Mario Vrancic or prime Gabriel Sara?
Oh, Jesus. I'm going to go prime Sara. That's tough.
I'm going to go prime Mario Vrancic. And I'm going to agree with Henry. I'm going to go prime Mario Vrancic. I think, better for me. But maybe some people don't agree with us. We'll see what they all think about that. But next up, which player, past or present, would you least like to take your daughter to prom? We had a few weeks. We had the player, past or present, that you would most like. But of any Norwich player ever, who do you not want to take your daughter to the high school dance?
Nunes, because he can't communicate in English. So, my daughter's going to be a bit screwed.
For me, it'd be Marley Watkins. I think I'd just sigh. I'd just be like, him, really? He could do so much better. So, don't sell yourself short like that. So, my daughter would not be coming home with Marley Watkins.
You know what? For me, for that sort of same reason, I'm going to go with Marcel Franca. Just seems like a really dull and boring bloke. I don't think she'd enjoy herself with Marcel. She'd probably leave halfway through, really, after realising he's not good enough. But yeah, I'll go with I always forget he played for us, and I'm quite glad I sort of keep it that way at times. But anyway, moving on to the final question. What's the best home limbs that you can remember?
I think that Forest 3-3 game recently was crazy. Boxing Day, wasn't it? Yeah. Like this bike, mate. Literally, the River End, bloody hell. Jesus Christ. They were absolutely off their seats.
Yeah, in terms of limbs, I'd probably agree. I don't think Forest is the best atmosphere, but best limbs, yeah, they're not in Forest game.
No, I disagree with the pair of you. I'm going to go with when Cantwell the ball was square to him by Pookie. Norwich went 2-0 up against the champions Manchester City.
See, that's the game. That's the game I would have gone for best atmosphere, because Carrow Road was I've never heard Carrow Road like that, and that wins best atmosphere hands down. But I think just in terms of limbs and a sort of goal celebration and just pure euphoria, that 3-3 game, is unrivaled. Like, and I think that was the game where that and the Millwall game that season were the games we knew we were going to go on and get promoted, because that doesn't happen in a season that isn't special. So
no, yeah, they were both phenomenal, but yeah, unfortunately I have to disagree. I just remember when that second one went in, you know, those little walkway entrances for each block, and obviously they have like the little bit of railing around them. I ran straight down to my one in the D block of the Barclay, just climbed right up on the top of it and just stood there, arms out, and then had about 2-3 of the stewards come over and say, "Can you get down, please?" I couldn't hear them because
that reminds me for a similar celebration, Josh Murphy in the Carabao Cup against Arsenal. When he put that goal into the back of the net, the limbs in the away end was mental. And similar to you, Freddie, I just got on my seat and was just standing, just arms out for the Arsenal fans.
Did the Bellingham before it was famous on his chair at the Emirates. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stood there. Anything like that. No, excellent. Absolutely brilliant. Well, there you go. There is your Norwich City news, catch up and nonsense for the week here on the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel, or if you're listening on our Spotify account. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we hope you've enjoyed what we've done over the channel this last week, and we hope you enjoyed whatever we have coming for you in the upcoming week. Norwich City go on to play Crystal Palace on Tuesday night in the Carabao Cup at Selhurst Park. Then they travel to the Ricoh Arena to play Coventry City away. We will, of course, talk about those games, maybe on the day and even in the podcast this time next week. I've been Freddie Humphrey-Wakefield. They have been the always excellent Henry Miller and Will Grant. It's goodbye for now, and we will see you here on the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel for the next video of ours. And if you're on Spotify, we hope to see you for the next podcast. We will see you then. It's goodbye for now, and see you all later.